Hello, you guys. How are you all? Thank you guys for being here. Happy Thursday. And let me start by saying I am sorry I wasn't here yesterday. We had a dentist appointment pretty far away. And by the time I got back, it just didn't make sense. I didn't want to rush and just go live about anything. So that is why. But we are here tonight and we got some things to talk about. So we are about to get right into it. Let me say hello to you guys. Hey, Christine. Thank you for being a member for 16 months. Thank you, Christine. Hey, Peanut Butter Conspiracies. Hey, Pointer Lover. Hey, Vanessa. Thank you, by the way. Tess, good to see you. Honeybee. Let's see. A different Christine. Just wanted to double check. Hey, Jay. Hey, Amber. So tonight we're going to be talking about Brian Koberger and Idaho 4, but not the case. We're going to be talking about, okay, so both of these things are follow-ups to things we have talked about before. The first thing I want to talk to you guys about is this Lifetime movie. Some of the actresses that are playing in the movie posted TikToks, which are now removed, but we're going to get to see a little bit of it. And I'm going to show you some of the actresses, or one of the actresses' TikToks, so some of her audition tapes, audition tapes. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at what Alivea has to say about it. She's not happy, and she posted a couple TikToks on it. We're going to look at those. Then we're going to get into the restitution hearing. So we had talked about Brian Koberger did not want to pay the family's travel expenses. Now, the judge is taking it under advisement, or, taking it back into his chambers, and we'll hear something he'll answer it by just, putting an order on the docket with his decision. So we don't know yet what's going to happen, but the hearing, I listened to it today and it was very interesting. The defense was pushing back and the judge was pushing back on them. The defense was pushing, I should say, and the judge was pushing back. Basically asking him, why are you going against your plea deal? So anyways, it's going to be interesting. Then there's a lot of new stuff coming out, like constantly. We had pictures of the sheath that came out. Then we had longer interviews with Dylan, which we're not going to talk about. I see Amber's going to do that tomorrow night on her channel. So I'm going to share that link and you guys go check that out. And then I also saw a new interview with Bethany just came out. So there's a lot of stuff constantly coming out. We knew it was going to be slow. They have to be able to check it first. And so we're going to get right into it. Hang in there with me. If I'm a little off, I do not feel good. I'm like shaky and just kind of weird feeling. So yeah, just want you guys to know. Okay. Hey, Carolina. Hey, Wuffy. Hey, Brandy. All right, so let's start with Alivea, okay? So this is regarding the Lifetime movie. The family spoke out immediately and said they're not really happy that a movie's already because Lifetime, it's a dramatic recreation. So it's not going to be the facts. It's loosely based on reality. Now, let me rewind this.
I love to do icon.
Okay, pause right here. So the sound that the actress used, which her video is taken down, but we can see her account name, which is where I went to see other videos of hers. Now, she's using like a popular sound on TikTok that says, and I love to do iconic shit. And it says that feeling on day one of a new production when you get into character for the first time. Now, I am assuming that this is going to be who plays Kaylee Goncalves in the movie because of Alivea's response. And also she kind of favors like her sisters a bit once she's dressed. You'll see here in a moment. So let's look.
Hi. So
it was so quick. But let me try to go back and pause. There. So she kind of looks like she could be one of her sisters there or something. So maybe that's, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just an assumption. But all right, let's listen to Alivea and what she has to say.
Hi.
And let me just say, opinions can be all over here. Just keep it respectful, though. Remember, they lost their loved one, and this is as real life gets for them. And I can imagine that this would piss me off, too. So, because I've seen people being, like, really critical of her. and what she has to say here. And I don't think that's fair at all. So opinions can be all over. You can say, I don't see the problem with the movie or whatever. Just keep it respectful. All right, here we go.
So that's not iconic shit. My sister, Kaylee Jade Goncalves, isn't a fucking character. You're young, so maybe you don't know. But I've looked at the past stuff you've done, and I think you know. There is such a thing as defamation, which can be crushing to a career. Not that you really have one, but if you'd like one, maybe you should just think about it. Maybe you should just think about if Kaylee was your sister. Maybe you should just think about what you put out into the world, like dancing around in between scenes. Maybe you should think about the projects that you take on. Maybe you should think that if you lay with dogs, you might get fleas. So
I just gotta say, man, Alivea is a hard ass. She's a badass. Like, she ain't playing no games. Now we've seen her multiple times telling people exactly where to go and how to get there with no issues. Like, she's not tripping over her speech. She knows. And very passionate the way she speaks. And, I don't know.
Yeah.
Makes you listen. I'm going to let it play one more time. I'm going to drop Amber's link. And I think Bendy's going on tonight. I'm going to drop that too.
And I love to do iconic shit.
Hi, so that's not iconic shit. My sister, Kaylee Jade Goncalves, isn't a fucking character. You're young, so maybe you don't know. But I've looked at the past stuff you've done, and I think you know.
So we're going to pause along the way this time. My sister, Kaylee, isn't a character. Like, this isn't something that you get. Why would you think to get on TikTok and make it, like, as tense as things have been surrounding this? Why would you even get on TikTok and post that? Hey, sweet and sleuthy. You know what I mean? Because wouldn't you expect some backlash? Like, surely, since you're playing a part in this movie, you've even done a little tiny bit of research. And then you would see, like, the climate of things. I don't know. It just,
There is such a thing as defamation, which
that's true.
Can be crushing to a career.
I don't think.
Not that you really have one.
But if you'd like one. Now, I think it's important to obviously that wasn't defamation. I mean, but Alivea isn't a lawyer and she isn't, I wouldn't expect her. I have no judgment for using the wrong word there. It's not defamation, because defamation, you have to lie on somebody, right? But I think that's not really the point of this anyway. It's kind of like, there's something that can be done.
But if you'd like one,
is what I take from it.
Maybe you should just think about it. Maybe you should just think about if Kaylee was your sister. Maybe you should just think about what you put out into the world, like dancing around in between scenes. Maybe you should think about the projects that you take on. Maybe you should think that if you lay with dogs, you might get fleas. So, maybe you should just think. You look like you might be capable of it.
I can't help it, though. It's like, she's just so charismatic. You can't help but, like, kind of be entertained by it, or not. I don't know the right word, but you know what I mean. She kind of captivates you and makes you, like I said, listen close. Okay, so let's continue. Here.
Look.
Let me just let it play.
Look, hear me out. All I'm saying is that I've seen higher levels of performance in actresses from pornography. That's all I have to say. Look, hear me out. All I'm saying is that I've seen higher levels of performance in actresses from pornography. That's all I have to say.
It's a Lifetime movie. She is a beautiful badass. It's a Lifetime movie, you know. Of course, the actresses aren't the best, but Peanut Butter says the families weren't thrust into the limelight on their own doing. It's not a story, it's life. How horrendous to have the worst thing you'll ever experience be blasted out there and now and made for TV movie. Unimaginable. Yeah, I can imagine I would be pissed off too, you know? I empathize with her too, sweet and sleuthy. So, all right, let me show you the actress, like some of her auditions. I mean, she put herself out there. I think it's only fair. She's the one who did this. She, on her own personal TikTok account, made that video, right? And then that is what the stitch is. Alivea on TikTok, it's a feature where you can respond to a video and you can let a little bit of it play at the beginning. So that kind of, even though she deleted it, we can still see that little part. So that's on her though. She got the stitch from her video. But anyway, so I don't feel bad at just taking a look.
Tell you everything right now.
I know, it's because your self-esteem and the fact you've been living off the Ronald family's charity grants.
Please, Mr. Ronald, stop talking to me so condescendingly. I'm not your contractual lover anymore.
Autumn Fragrance. All she's doing is hyping the movie.
It's about your self-esteem and the fact that you've been living off the Ronald family's charity grants. Years ago are now.
I am not your
Oh, it's still her. Okay.
I'm not talking to you condescendingly, okay? Whether it was 9 years ago or now, I've never treated you like that.
That's the truth, Callie Lisa.
These
Crown
questions are so boring when you know damn well the answer. I'm gonna go see my son.
Look, just because I'm the boss of Hell Gang, the president of our group, doesn't mean I boss everyone around. Okay, look, whether it was 9 years ago or now, what makes you think I've always been like that?
These questions are very boring, Mr. Ronald. You keep asking them knowing damn well the answer.
Oh God, I'm dreading this movie because it just seems so forced, these auditions. But let me ask you something, Autumn. So if she is hyping the movie, why didn't she tag Lifetime or like tag Idaho 4 or, you know, and maybe she did, but I don't think so. So you know what I mean? That would feel, which also would feel disrespectful, but probably is a natural part of making a movie, right? You advertise for it. But right.
Forgive me, Vesper. I thought... I'm sorry.
I can forgive you, but you have to do me a favor.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that was your real father.
Look, I can forgive you, but you have to do me a favor.
Just say it.
Why is it you have to do? People don't talk like that in real life. You know what I mean? Like, it feels very forced, and it just gives me a preview of what this movie is going to be like. And I think it's going to be just highly offensive. I'm sorry, I do. And I know it's not new. Lifetime's been doing this.
Never
Matter of
let
fact,
my dad know that I'm being...
When I was about to go live, I was sitting here thinking, I remember talking about Lifetime producing the Gabby Petito movie. I remember not long after she was found, and after Brian Laundrie was found, and seeing that and talking about it and if I'm not mistaken, we maybe even looked into the actresses on that one too. So I was having a bit of deja vu for that. But all right, buckle up, because now we're getting into the restitution hearing. It's 20 minutes long, you know, so we're going to listen. I'll pause along the way, but this is pretty interesting, okay, because we're going to learn something here. At one point, Brian Kohberger had over 5 figures in his commissary. He's complaining about having to pay the families. And at one point he had 5 figures, and the judge is spicy. I'm so glad that, you know, he was the judge for all of this, because the first one we had, what was his name? Judge, or is that this one? I get him confused. The first one was too weak for this defense, in my opinion. But is Lady fucking T here? Oh, there you are. And I even had it highlighted. I don't know how I missed it though. Crazy. Was Amber Heard her acting coach? Lady fucking T, thank you for being a member for 7 months. I had to highlight and I'm like, is she here? I'm sorry, forgive me. I told y'all I don't feel good. Peace, Love, and Pug says, I think I'm going to pass on watching it. I don't know if I want to give those people, and I do not mean victims' families, but goes behind the movie, any credits at all. Lifetime movies suck. I don't watch them. Bushi, thank you for being a member for 14 months. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. That's sweet. This one is pulling no punches. Okay, here we go. It's interesting. You guys, if you watch it, you'll be glad that you did. Okay, maybe I should put the clip.
Let's go on the record in State v. Koberger, CR 0124316665. The defendant has been excused from today's proceedings.
So Koberger didn't have to be there. I think his ass should have been made to go, but whatever. Kelly says, holy crap, there's a lady with a knife holding a baby hostage in a car up the road from me. This world is getting to be just awful. That is freaking scary. Go inside and lock your doors. I don't like that. Scary.
Not
Right.
present. The defense is represented by Ms. Matzoff, Ms. Taylor, and Ms. Barlow. State is represented by Mr. Thompson. This is a time set for a hearing on the state's supplemental request for restitution.
And I think it was
the
family
state can
that
argue
put all
first.
that money on there. We'll see, and we'll debate it in a moment. But here we go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
The state isn't even asking for what they originally were. So I don't know why just feels. Let me stop.
Attached documentation. It doesn't appear that there's a question about the amounts. I think the question that has been raised is whether the propriety of any additional restitution being ordered at this point. Yesterday afternoon, we did receive a supplemental filing from the defense, and I want to respond to that just for the record.
And I will say he already on the record owes almost $30,000 of restitution. This is additional, like meaning it was because the families were asking for help with travel. It's just for the funerals, things like that.
Before I address the merits of the restitution requests themselves. As we indicated in our response to the defense objection to the additional restitution request, the time that we entered into impression that crime victims compensation could be available to cover reimbursement of travel expenses. And I have to clarify that now. It is true that before trial, the families approached our office asking if there were any resources we were available to pay in advance for travel expenses or expenses related to them attending trial itself. And we looked into that, our staff looked into that, and advised them no. It was my understanding, and I'm mistaken. I realized I was mistaken at this point, but it was my understanding back in early July, late June, when we were talking about the plea agreement, that crime victims compensation could be available to reimburse expenses like that. I now know that's not correct, and it was certainly my mistake. I will own it as far as our state of mind going into the plea agreement.
So
That being said,
go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish the point on the plea agreement, and then I have a question for you about that.
And I was just finishing that point, Your Honor, so this would be a good time.
Okay. So it's pretty well settled that plea agreements are interpreted as contracts, which they are. I think it's pretty well settled contract law that a unilateral mistake does not relieve one of its contractual obligations and restrictions. So how can I order this restitution if the express terms of the plea agreement, though mistaken understanding by the state, don't allow such extra crime victims compensation fund reimbursement.
Right. And Your Honor, I recognize that, and that's what I was just getting ready to address. In response to the defense's objection, the state has modified or adjusted our position on the restitution. We are, pursuant to the plea agreement, seeking restitution for the funeral-related expenses, which are the urns that are described in Exhibit 2 to our response.
So for the earns,
We are not
all
affirmatively
they're asking
advocating
now.
for the travel expenses and lodging expenses of the family because we do not believe that we can legally advocate for those. At the same time, the families provided those to us and we want to provide them to the court and counsel just so I was aware that they are there, but we are not arguing affirmatively for that because of.
That doesn't mean that he can't. They're just saying they're not arguing that. It makes me wonder, does that mean that the judge could still impose a fee or a fine for that? I don't know.
Of the wording of the plea agreement itself. So what the state is
Quite
actually
interesting.
requesting today
Hey,
is
Brandon.
just additional restitution for the funeral related expenses, which are the urns for the families.
Okay, thank you. And
He
you
says
can
we're not
address the
arguing for
other
that.
issues as well.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, which other issues?
Well, the issues, if you would like, raised in opposition to your motion, including the lack of ability to pay by a defendant
what?
and et cetera.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I apologize. The defendant has raised the issue of his alleged inability to pay, and we recognize that he's going to be incarcerated until he dies. But that in and of itself doesn't mean that over the course of the balance of his life, he might become, he might receive assets. And in fact, we attached a breakdown of the types of monies that he has received during his incarceration. We also noted the statute that allows the treasurer to intercept prospective monies that might be received based on any.
Now we're going to hear about that money again. 5 figures, okay, at one point, and it seems like a family member. But I just want to point out, we recently saw Letitia have 99.9% of her money taken because of what she owed in restitution. They're going to get their money. It doesn't matter if he can or cannot pay it right now, because that's one of his arguments, and we'll hear from his attorneys. But that's kind of besides the point. What if he can one day? Like, it needs to be on the record that he owes it.
Attempted publication of the story of the defendant, and those, if received, would be something that a restitution order could be enforced against. We also note that the language of the statute and the case law interpreting the restitution statute, which is 1953-04, if I believe off the top of my head, talks about current inability to pay is not necessarily a block to the order of restitution. It's just merely a factor for the court to consider. And it is our position, given the relative youth of the defendant, the fact that he has been receiving significant monies during his incarceration already, and that there is a possibility of future monies, whether by virtue of the statute with the treasurer impounding proceeds from a story related to this, or perhaps from an inheritance from his family or others.
So that shows us, because we've talked about there is no son of Sam law in Idaho. He can actually profit from his crime there. And as you hear the prosecutor say, he may in the future get some inheritance, write a story or something related to this. Like, he's leaving it open that that's a possibility. Crazy.
We can't see into the future. We don't have a perfect crystal ball. The state's position is having this additional restitution place, which is really fairly minimal, would be appropriate and have them available that if the defendant comes into assets, that the families would be able to try to satisfy the restitution orders from them.
Thank you. And then who's arguing for defense?
I will be, Your Honor.
All right.
Thank you. Given that the state has clarified its position that it's only seeking reimbursement for the
Thank you.
earns, it's my understanding that that amount is
Thank you.
$14.20 for one family, $15.87.79, and then another $167.79, which would be a total, I believe, if my math is right, of $3,075.58. My
Oh
understanding
my
of
God,
reading
Carolina.
the Victims Compensation Code 1950.
Let's just take a pause here. I want to read Carolina's comment. And thank you, Jammers, for being here. Carolina says, women on Reddit were sharing pictures of thousands of dollars that they were sending him. So disgusting. Oh my God.
304 is that the court must still do an analysis
that.
on Mr. Koberger's ability to pay. And as the state has addressed, we are arguing that he does not have.
Kelly, she hid you on accident. We got you unhid though. Hey, S. Hockett. We got you back.
Ability to pay. While there have been lump sums provided to you regarding some funds that he received prior to his plea agreement, what the court does not have is a breakdown of how those funds came into the inmate system for his expenses and the fact that they were primarily family. Certainly his situation pre-plea and sentencing was drastically different than it is right now in terms of money that is.
His situation is different before than it is now just because he pled guilty. That's interesting. I mean, I suppose people could be upset about it, but Amy says, in my opinion, the judge speaks with a slight smile while talking with Bill and displays a tone of disdain when speaking with Ann or Massett. I don't know. I guess I hadn't even noticed that, but now I'm going to pay attention. You know, is there some bias coming through? That's okay, Tess. We got it.
Available to him, and there's nothing in the record to provide the court with anything other than what is really speculation based on the past, as opposed to something that the court might be able to
Now the judge is about to have her ass. You just wait.
Rely upon about foreseeability. There's no way that Mr. Koberger is ever going to profit from any sort of movie or book because Idaho Code 1953.
Wait, how did I not hear that earlier? I just heard her say there's no plans of that, so it's not fair to throw it out there. Listen,
301 specifically precludes that.
Well, it allows that monies are swept from his account for those income to pay certain things. If there's no debt for those certain things, then does the money not go then to the defendant?
That is not my reading of the code. Perhaps I'm reading that statute more broadly than the court is. I understood it to be that the purpose is that someone can't then profit off of their crime pursuant to that statute. I guess I need to read it with
even allowing
implication.
even allowing your reading of it, what's to prevent, for example, a family member from agreeing to, provide information, be a part of, et cetera, a story, movie, book, whatever, TV series about the murders, about Mr. Koberger, and that certainly wouldn't be monies they receive wouldn't be subject to the statute, and then they certainly would be free to send Mr. Koberger money to his account. What harm is it to order the restitution, which would then sort of jump in line in terms of priority of payments over some of the other ordered payments, such that if Mr. Koberger does receive money into his accounts from any source, that he's then that those monies are then put to that use. Certainly, we're not worried about Mr. Koberger's credit rating with having debts at this point. I'm not sure what the concern would be to given the uniqueness of this case and the potential for family members, et cetera, to earn money from it, and potentially we've seen members of the public send money to Mr. Kohlberger, is my understanding, to his books. What's the downside to ensuring that the victims are as whole as possible from this by ordering the restitution, which again would jump in line from some of the other court-ordered fines, et cetera. And if the money's there, it's there. If it's not, it's not.
Judge, I don't see that Idaho code or Idaho law asks the court to make an analysis on the downside, but whether or not there is foreseeability of payment. And all of the things that you just listed are pure speculation. There is no book or movie that's in the works by any of his family. And to say that those things are going to happen is absolutely speculative, and there's nothing to substantiate those sorts of assertions happening in the future. So
well, there's a history in the 3 years he was incarcerated of him receiving 5 figures put on.
I wish y'all would have seen my face today when I heard that. I was like, wait, huh? I had to look down and I had to be like, okay, let me see. 1,000, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think that's at least $10,000, right? 10,000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm like, wait, what? Hold on, I'm going to rewind it because I didn't even let him finish. But I just was so, okay.
Happening in the future. So
well, there's a history in the 3 years he was incarcerated of him receiving 5 figures put on his books.
Yeah.
Doesn't that give the court some history to suggest that such contributions from whatever source may continue into the future?
Who in the hell would put at least $10,000 on his books? It couldn't be any less than. Who would do that? And it seems like it's family. Like we're going to hear them talk a little bit more. And I think it's, but she does make a point that like his situation could have changed since then. I don't know. Doesn't mean it has.
As I stated earlier, Judge, that was at a different time in the case. That was at a time when, you know, he had not entered a plea. He was not deemed convicted of the crime. The money, a lot of that money was coming from his family to be able to have communications with their son and brother. And to speculate that those $10,000 are going to be able to happen for the next many decades is exactly that. It's pure.
So you're trying to say what, people might be mad at him and won't send him money now? But hello, there's the whole pro-burger movement. I'm sorry, but I don't see his parents sending him $10,000. Like her sister. That had to be some like unhinged person from the internet or something, right? Like $10,000. Why in the hell would he need that much? Even if you give him $1,000, like, God, I don't know.
Speculation, not based on something that is
what a dumb way to spend your money,
or based in something that's in fact before this.
Part to look at what might happen into.
Hold on. Sorry, I know it was kind of lagging there for a second, but let's read Cinnamon's comment. She says, they say, my auntie had her life taken by Ted Bundy. Her siblings, parents, and friends have suffered through the fans. It's pathetic. Public will always keep his books to the max. I bet they did the same with him, and I can't imagine what they've went through with that because of how infamous Ted Bundy is. Because of how well known he is. Even like kids know who that is. Not all kids, but I mean, you like people you wouldn't expect know that name. Just know the name. I'm so sorry for them. And yeah, you're right. The public will keep the books to the max. But speaking of max and Nate's comment, I'm surprised they allow that much. Didn't with Letitia's, they had like a cap of like $300 or something? The law is the law, right? Doesn't it mean to take a percentage from his commissary fund? Yeah. I wonder if the ladies have started their rushing of him yet. Oh, gosh. I can imagine maybe they emptied his bank account and put it on books. That's possible, Kelly, but dang, I can't imagine he had that. Maybe. That's certainly possible. All right, let's keep listening. It gets pretty tense.
Obviously, even application of statute requires the court to look at what might happen into the future. And I guess, it seems to me one of the best indicators of the future is the past. And in the past, his family has, you're saying the family was the source of much of these funds, has provided him funds in order for him to communicate, et cetera. That necessity will still exist going forward. I'm not aware of his family having disowned him at this point and not wanting any contact with him. And even if they are, that doesn't mean that won't change. And you call it speculation. It seems to me that it is good evidence of what may occur in the future in light of what has occurred in the past.
The judge does seem to have a little bit of an attitude towards them, huh? I mean, I probably would too. But it's his job to be unbiased. But I mean, look what we've been through. Look at all the circles Anne tried to speak in. Like, my God. I'm sure he's frustrated at this point, but he does he ain't having it, and he don't like them. No. They are not his people.
Well, Judge, there is a judgment against him in the amount of $28,000, and certainly 20% of every dollar that goes into his inmate account is going to go towards paying that
20% of every dollar.
Another factor that the court actually can look at under 1953-04 subsection 7 is other factors, and those factors that other factors that the court deems appropriate, and that can be collateral resources that the families obtained over $200,000, which definitely reimburse the cost of the earns in terms of economic costs.
I also want to turn to the plea agreement because isn't a reasonable interpretation of the plea agreement that the defendant will not contest the state's seeking of restitution that is outlined in the plea agreement. Otherwise, why would it need to be in the plea agreement? It seems to me it's the plea agreement. A reasonable interpretation is the defendant is agreeing to pay restitution for those items that are identified in the plea agreement, which includes victims' compensation, which includes in this case funeral expenses. So you took advantage of the plea agreement to get the benefit of the bargain regarding the state's dropping of the death penalty. Why should you not be held to the plea agreement to pay the victims the costs of interning their children?
I believe that our pleading was clear.
And remember, at this point, see, everything before this, any money he got, he didn't owe anything because he wasn't convicted. He was an innocent man. Now he is a murderer. He's a convicted murderer, quadruple murderer. Neat says that kind of money almost sets him up to be taken advantage of by other inmates. And yes, I completely agree. If there's a point where he's around them, we know that they yell stuff at him. We know he's complained of that, but they keep him isolated. But you're 100% right. He seems annoyed they're fighting it at all because B agreed to the plea. Yep. He's definitely annoyed.
Clear that we understood that earns fell underneath a funeral cost, but that once we have a hearing on this matter, that doesn't eliminate the court's duty under 1953-04 to do the ability to pay analysis. And that's why.
Well, are you in violation of the plea agreement by arguing that your client shouldn't have to pay those?
We are not in violation of the plea agreement. If there was any violation of the plea agreement that took place, it's the state seeking this when the other expenses, when it was clear under statute and under the Idaho Victims Compensation rules that it was, those were not reimbursable expenses.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so annoyed with her that I was pausing before she was even done. First of all, lady, the state withdrew their request. So they were requesting for the travel expenses to be paid. Now they know that they cannot formally request that. So they dropped it. So no, it wouldn't be. And funeral expenses are part of it. The earns, that's all they want now. So what are you arguing? What do you mean? No, the state would have. If anybody broke it, it was the state. Well, I mean, he's the judge. So I'm pretty sure you should listen to him, you know? God, hey, Nicole B. She's so sassy. I don't love her. Here we go.
But they've effectively withdrawn those requests.
Yes.
And are seeking
what
what's
the hell?
outlined in the plea agreement. What's the point of the plea agreement on restitution if the defense is able to argue against the restitution called for in the plea agreement itself?
Boom.
Judge, again, in our pleading, we objected to what the state has withdrawn as of this moment at this hearing today.
Right.
We acknowledge that the earns were funeral expenses.
Right.
But once we're in a situation of having a hearing, then this other section about whether or not he has an ability to pay is triggered. We stipulated to $28,000 in restitution within 60 days.
Right.
He met the terms of the plea agreement.
But it also says the state may seek restitution regarding funeral expenses, and they're simply identifying additional funeral expenses.
I don't know what more you want me to say about the earns other than
what's the point of the plea agreement if you're not going to be bound by it?
My God, what's the point? I told you guys it got a little tense. Hey, you two bad actors, they say, I can't believe the lawyers for this disgusting excuse for a human being are fighting restitution. The sick. And what are they even fighting now? The state withdrew the travel, which I don't think they should fight either. I mean, what's it matter? You think he's ever going to pay off the $30,000 he already owes, or $29,000 or whatever it is? And this is just so frustrating. And the judge is also frustrated. I think the judge is like, excuse me, this is pointless. Why are you arguing this? Like when you argued every little detail on the way up to trial, that's a little more understandable. You were fighting for his life. But now he's signed a plea deal, which included restitution, which included funeral expenses. The earns are an extra part of that. That is all they're asking now. You fighting this just makes you look argumentative, big-headed, and just bitchy. I'm sorry. This is bullshit. And Ann Taylor up here in the right corner, what are you doing? What are you doing? Get your lip out your mouth and take over, because this lady.
I agreed that it was 3,000.
Look at her. She's like, that wasn't a pause. That wasn't my pause game. This is her face not moving. She's just completely uninterested. But also, I don't know. She seems half uninterested and half like on edge, like the way she's holding her mouth, kind of like that. But all right.
But it also says the state may seek restitution regarding funeral expenses, and they're simply identifying additional funeral expenses.
Hey, Roxanne.
I don't know what more you want me to say about the earns other than
what's the point of the plea agreement if you're not going to be bound by it?
I agreed that it was $3,075.58.
But you say you just shouldn't have to pay it.
What I said was that the court needs to do the analysis under Idaho code about his ability to pay.
Why hasn't the defendant waived his right to rely on that ability to pay by agreeing to those expenses as part of the plea agreement?
Yes.
I don't know how the court can enter this order today. without engaging in the analysis under Idaho code because it's required. That's the way I review the case law and the code, that once there's a hearing about restitution, then the court has to engage in the analysis on the ability to pay.
So the agreement to pay is illusory.
No, he agreed to $28,000. We
$28,000.
agreed that the earns fall underneath.
Does he have the ability to pay that?
No, he does not have the ability.
So
to
why
pay
did you
that.
agree to it?
Because it was a specific, we were provided with those receipts within 60 days. We were not provided with the receipt for the earns within 60 days.
So is your objection then a
Does he have to? I'm sorry, I have to pause because that was just too good. And because we're almost done, we're going to wrap it up after this. I'm going to rewind just like a minute so we can hear this like full little argument they're having in full. And I won't pause until we get to the end. Okay. So I promise I'm going to try real hard. I'm going to sit on my hands. I'm not going to say a thing. Amber says she's very condescending to the judge. She is. Her attitude is just, YouTube Bad Actor says maybe they're still getting billable hours paid. But something, why are you fighting this like this? It just, and then Coffee says, I don't know how the judge stays professional. I'd be like, listen here, biatch. I know. Me too. Okay. Listen, let me go set up let me see if Jen's on and I'll set up a redirect. Wow. So I won't pause.
Judge, again, in our pleading, we objected to what the state has withdrawn as of this moment at this hearing today.
right?
We acknowledge that the earns were funeral expenses.
Right.
But once we're in a situation of having a hearing, then this other section about whether or not he has an ability to pay is triggered. We stipulated to $28,000 in restitution within 60 days.
Right.
He met the terms of the plea agreement.
But it also says the state may seek restitution regarding funeral expenses, and they're simply identifying additional funeral expenses.
I don't know what more you want me to say about the earns other than
what's the point of the plea agreement if you're not going to be bound by it?
I agreed that it was $3,075.58.
But you say you shouldn't have to pay it.
What I said was that the court needs to do the analysis under Idaho code about his ability to pay.
Why hasn't the defendant waived his right to rely on that ability to pay by agreeing to those expenses as part of the plea agreement?
I don't know how the court can enter this order today without engaging in the analysis under Idaho code because it's required. That's the way I review the case law and the code, that once there's a hearing about restitution, then the court has to engage in the analysis on the ability to pay.
So the agreement to pay is illusory.
No, he agreed to $28,000. We've agreed that the earns fall underneath.
Does he have the ability to pay that?
No, he does not have the ability.
So why did you agree to it?
Because it was a specific, we were provided with those receipts within 60 days. We were not provided with the receipt for the earns within 60 days.
So is your objection then a timeliness objection?
As a timeliness, I have thought about that and whether or not I think that it is a really valid argument to say that that's completely jurisdictional. I didn't to mean that the court can't take this under the review at this point in time. I didn't read the judgment language in such a strict fashion that I felt like we could say 61 days means the court's not going to consider it at all. So it is past your 60-day deadline, but I don't know that that is completely jurisdictional in the way that you drafted your judgment.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson, your rebuttal?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank
He
you. I'll
don't
take the
have
matter
to.
under
Why would?
advisement, issue an opinion in due course.
Wait, let's hear the end of that again. But also, why would he need to rebuttal? You did it for him, buddy, the whole time. But also, I mean, it is bullshit, so I get it. All right, and it's like, dude, you signed to pay restitution and funeral expenses, and you're fighting something they've already dropped. Really, what she's asking for is this analysis of ability to pay. Okay, we know that he's in jail for life. He might can get a job in prison. He still needs to pay. Okay, I mean, how hard is that, anyways? And isn't that up to the judge? I mean, there could be, I don't know, there could be a certain way that it's supposed to be done, but I just can't imagine. I would assume that the judge is supposed to be the one to do that, right? Oh my God, I don't know. But at the end, when she's done and he's like, anything else? No. Both of their tones are just like, bah, and hang up. Hang up on an old phone with the cord. Just slam that damn thing down. Bah.
Anything else?
It's completely jurisdictional. I'm not going to consider it at all. So it is past your 60-day deadline, but I don't know that that is completely jurisdictional in the way that you drafted your judgment.
Anything else?
No.
Thank you. Mr. Thompson, any rebuttal?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll take the matter under advisement and issue an opinion in due course.
She bounced. Look, she's gone already. She left immediately. She didn't say okay. She didn't say yes, sir. She didn't say thank you, Your Honor. Have a good day. Nope. I got to rewind it 10 seconds. I'm sorry to rewind like this, but those moments, I need to see more than once. And when I listened today, I didn't watch most of the time. All right, here we go.
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'll take the matter under advisement and issue an opinion in due course.
She's like, get me the hell out of here. Shoo. She was disrespectful. I agree. She was definitely rude as hell. What did she say that was insulting? Her tone was insulting. Oh, how I miss slamming the phone. Yep, now all the Hebristophilia fans will have to send him items instead of money. Oh, they will. They probably, like, I know Letitia, you can send her care packages. You can order, like, certain dinners from, there's certain little contracts that prisons do with these places that will do, like this one place that Letitia's, one of the prisons she's been at, offered, like 3 dinners. You could get, like, tacos, chicken fingers, and, like, or something else. And you could have that delivered to them. You can do a box of snacks, just, you know, shit like that. I don't know, Coffee. You might have heard it wrong, but also, I don't know. Maybe I didn't pick up on it. But all right, you guys, I'm going to let you go because, again, I just don't feel good. I'm struggling to get through this even. So I'm going to go lay down and snuggle up under a warm blanket and try to feel a little bit better. But thank you guys for being here, and I appreciate you guys. I know tomorrow Amber will be live on her channel with enhanced audio of the new interview with Dylan. And like I said at the beginning, there's a lot of other stuff that's been coming out, these new interviews. I saw something new posted with Bethany today. The pictures of the sheath and other photos. They're just constantly dropping little things. So yeah, maybe we'll talk about it in the future. Maybe we won't. It kind of depends. But anyways, all right. I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the feel betters and all that. I appreciate you guys. I really do. Thank you to the mods too. Yeah. And then I'll see you soon. I'll see you this weekend. Bye.